What's up, Dan?
What's going on, Mark?
Nothing. Well, I know you just went on vacation, so welcome back. I know you got a lot going on, so thanks for making the time.
You bet, man. It was a great vacation. It was like I told you before we hit record. It was best vacation I've had since I started working for myself. I actually took a vacation and I came back a new man. Like legit, I wrote in my journal like I am a new human being.
Okay, even like right there in the first 8 seconds, you're like, I journal, I work for myself. I'm finally like a new man. We got a lot to talk. Okay, so I'm really excited to talk to you. We met at a conference a few years back at Boston at Inbound, and like kind of immediately among these like 15,000 people that are there, you somehow end up like meeting all these people. And when I met you and Mike, and I'm like, yo, these are guys I want to talk to. And like,
It was
here
the
we are.
shoes, man. It was the shoes.
It totally was the shoes. I was like, whoa, what's happening? You had custom shoes. But the show is called Think Differently. We got a wide array of people that listen to it. And just following you in your work and being a huge fan of your work, I know that you truly do think differently. But even just as we started to like rap a little bit before we hit record, there's so much going on in your life. There's so much excitement. So I'm going to let you do the intro. Tell people, who is Dan Mott? What are you up to?
Oh man, that's a hard one because it always depends on the conversation, right? Yeah, I
Yep.
guess. So I'm Dan Mott. I am the secret co-founder of marketingops.com. Mike is the face. I'm the guy behind the scenes. I always have a
Yep.
funny, depending on who I'm with, I always have a funny joke for it. And usually it's like I'm the guy who tells Mike no, like we're not allowed to do this. We're not allowed to do that. I've actually got some team members on my team who are helping me on that mission too. So
Nice.
and then I am also the founder of Etherealm Studios, which is a tabletop game publishing company.
Okay, and
Super
that's just started, right? This just started.
legit like 2 months ago. Yeah, this was my retirement plan. Since like right before COVID, I started playing Dungeons and Dragons with my friend. I got super into it. I was the kid who ran around the woods, beating up trees with sticks. And I was like, dude, there's a legit thing I can do with this. Like I can actually go build worlds and like immerse my friends in it. It took over my world. I was like, how do I play more D&D? How do I do more of this? I always knew it was like, this is my retirement plan. I was like, through all of my journey that I know we're going to talk about today, I came to the conclusion. I was like, why? What am I waiting for? What is holding me back? And I just said, fuck it. Like, I'm going to go for it. I'm just going to do it. I literally shut the doors of my one business and opened up a new business like overnight. I was like, this is now my future.
Okay, and you have a family, right? You've got
Yeah.
two young kids. I mean, young kids. You got a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, and you're like, "Hey, I'm going to shut down this business I've had for years
Yeah.
and just start a brand new up. I'm just spin it up."
Yeah.
What does that even look like? I mean, is this you and your wife having coffee, and like it's 1 a.m. in the morning while the kids are sleeping? Like, how does that even happen?
Yeah, it's I am diversified, so I do have multiple companies right between the two. Six Three Media, which was the company that I shut down, was the one that right when I quit my job and I started working for myself. This was the thing that started me off. It's been 5.5 years in the making, and it's taken me so far. It took me from I want to be an entrepreneur to hey, I work for myself. I'm struggling. I'm doing better. I met Mike. We started building a company together. And I just realized, it's not serving me anymore. It's done its job and it's done it very well. It's gotten me to this point in time, but it's not going to continue moving me forward. It's not going to get me to the place I want to be. So it's time for a change. And as hard as that was, because it was like, this is something that made me, right? This is like, this has always been the dream to go work for myself. And, to give that up was tough. And
What does that mean? It wasn't serving you anymore. What does that mean for you?
So it's just, I wasn't as passionate about it. I'd spent so much time flip flopping, right? Because you get out of the corporate world. I worked for a marketing agency. I came off of that and I was like, all right, I'm going to just keep doing the same. We worked specifically with IT solution providers. And I was like, I'm going to keep doing that. But I didn't really give a crap about IT. So I was like, well, let me switch over. Let me do marketing over here. And then I started doing content, and then I started doing lead gen, and then I started doing done for you. And then so it was a long process of finding myself. And then for the past 2 years where I've had this sales training and enablement company for entrepreneurs, and then marketingops.com, which is a community and an education platform and for marketing operations professionals, two completely different audiences, two entirely different businesses. And I had this, what I always refer to as my personal brand identity crisis. So,
oh yes,
all this time, just like, who am I between these two companies? Like, I couldn't even talk about one thing on LinkedIn because, right, like the LinkedIn algorithm doesn't like that. I'm like, I'm going to go talk
Right.
about this one thing to these other people, or this, and then go talk about this completely other thing to the rest of people. And it's just like, it doesn't make sense. I'm confusing people. Who am I? Who am I at the core? And how do I represent that? And that was kind of this 2+ year journey that I went on. And it really kind of peaked all of Q4 last year. Was like, I went ham and I was like, who the hell am I? What am I doing? Like, and how am I positioning my personal brand?
Mm-hmm.
And what I uncovered was so much more than that. And I had the biggest spiritual awakening of my life. I attached myself to this Manifest a Million challenge, which I've been journaling about daily since January 4th. And like, that is my entire goal for this year. And in hindsight, when I look back, I say, well, I was born in 1988, but I woke up at the end of 2023. So like
Dude, come on. Are you serious?
I am a
Wow.
completely new person. Like, I have found myself. I have found my passion, and I've spent my entire life just being like, what do I want to be when I grow up?
Yeah.
And it took me 35 years to realize I just don't want to grow up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Peter Pan's a good dude. Peter Pan, everyone's like, oh, Peter Pan had it right. It's a good sin. I tell people I suffer from Peter Pan syndrome. I'm not growing up. I went to the orthopedic. I had my, like, dude, I'm old man. Like, my knees are hurting from playing lacrosse and skateboarding. And he literally was like, Mark, he's like, bro, you're an adult. You need to buy like adult shoes that support you. He's like, you can't wear these checkerboard slip-on Vans. I was like, I don't even wear shoes most of the time. He's like, you need to be an adult. I was like,
Yep.
I need a second opinion. Okay, we gotta stop for a sec. How did you find yourself? So you said this thing wasn't serving you. What you meant by that was it what you weren't passionate about it. This led to this identity crisis when you thought about like what you were doing in your work before. And then you said like you kind of went down this journey and then like you woke up. Like,
Yeah.
what is that like? And we will get into the Manifest a Million, which is its own thing that led you to this thing. But like, what is this like? I heard you say you journal. What does this look like? Yeah.
Whole series of events.
Okay.
Yeah, I journal a good 6 to 7 times every day. I take weekends off, but and I meditate twice daily. So I spend a lot of time working on me and staying focused on. There's a lot of subconscious programming, but like what do I want? What am I feeling? What am I thinking? And why am I feeling and thinking those things? So I can better process them and I can understand the impact that they are having and can have in my life. So rather than being at
is this like TM meditation? Is this like more mindfulness, kind of like sitting, feeling your body, noticing your thoughts passing by? What type? Just because I'm thinking like people that are listening are like, I want what he has. I don't know who I am. So what does meditation look like? What does journaling look like?
Yeah, so I have a very very regimented routine with a lot of different steps and a lot of different things, but specific around the meditation. So I meditate first thing in the morning and I meditate to sleep. So in the morning, it is very different. It is much more of a visualization technique. So what I'm doing is effectively for 6 minutes, I am visualizing. So I have this goal to manifest $1 million by the end of the year. I am visualizing that end experience. I'm feeling the emotions and I am experiencing it as if I'm basically creating a memory of the future that I'm going to live. So what I'm doing is I am placing myself, I'm closing my eyes and I am experiencing this experience of actually hitting my goal, manifesting $1 million and what I feel in the process. There's a lot of readings and teachings and I have coaches and I've read a lot of things and I've done a lot of research on this is why this is such an impactful component of this. But basically what I'm doing is I'm future setting. And then I actually do like another, so I listen to a music track, a piano track while I'm doing that. And I restart it over and I listen to that same exact track. And then I journal for the next 6 minutes. And I say, okay, I've experienced this dream. I've experienced this future. I have this feeling inside of me right now. What do I need to do right now, today, to achieve and accomplish that? So then what I'm doing is I'm actually tapping into my subconscious to kind of like, what's just spilling out of my mind? What is my mind telling me I need to go do today? I need to pay attention to, I need to put energy and focus into that will help me day by day, step by step, work towards my goal.
Is there ever, okay, so man, that's fucking rad. Okay, so the vision setting and the future setting is the first 6 minutes. The next 6 minutes is like, now let's kind of like get a little bit more objective about what do I need to do to make that a reality? And then my question is, the things that pour out of your brain first thing in the morning that you're journaling down what you need to do, is that ever either at odds or in harmony, or how do you push that against what it might already be on the calendar for the day and or priorities for the day that are already like in kind of in motion?
So the moments before sleep and after sleep are the most important times of the day, because what you're doing is you are actually, when you sleep, you're slipping into your subconscious.
Mm.
And then when you wake up, you're coming back out of it. So when that feeling that you have when you first wake up, when you're groggy, when you're tired, when you're not thinking straight, what you're doing is you're kind of like riding the cusp of being conscious and like being unconscious at the same time. So what you're
Oof.
doing is like those thoughts, those feelings, those emotions you want to catch. So I just do the first thing I do is stream of conscious. Wake right up out of bed at 6 a.m., walk into this office, and I write down just what's on my mind. Why is it? Why is it there? Why am I thinking that thing? Then I process that. And then I go through a few more steps, and then I go into my meditation. At night, what I'm doing is I'm kind of going back to I'm doing future setting in the night, but then I'm also doing more of like, all right, I mix it up a little bit. A lot of the time it is going to be very much of like, I'm doing more of that, just like, thoughtful, like, why am I spacing on the name right now? I'm just being like conscious of like, all right, I'm paying attention to my breathing.
Oh
I'm
yeah, like
kind of like,
mindfulness, present, like
yeah,
heads.
mindfulness,
Yeah, got
meditation,
it.
like just,
Okay.
right. So two sets. Sorry. So I just wanted to kind of lay those. And then what was your question again?
The question was like, so when you in the morning when you're doing this future setting and you're saying, oh, what do I need to do today to do
Oh,
that?
and
Right.
how do
The
they,
yeah, the output of that is like, okay, I need to do these things. However, you're like, I gotta talk to this schmuck in Chicago today on his podcast, and I gotta like these other things that you might have some meetings or you might have other things. Like, are those things set, or does truly what you say that morning dictate what you do that day?
so it's kind of, yeah. So what I'll do is I'll process like as if I'm processing purely out of the subconscious and just like what's on
Okay.
my mind right now. Then what I'll do is I will actually go. So I've done this future planning, this future setting. I've done just a distillation of what's on my mind and what is what is my heart telling me is important to do today. Then I get through my morning routine, and then when I get to like my work scheduling, I'm now probably like three and a half hours later. I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
all right, what's important for me to do at work today, right? Because life is much bigger than work, but work is a very big component of it. So now I'll say, all right, well, what's on my work calendar? What do I need to do? What do I need to prioritize? Part of that is going back and looking at what my coach calls thinkitation. So that's that 6 minute distillation of what's on my mind after my future setting meditation. So I'm taking that. What did I write and think and feel this morning? Now I actually look at my calendar and what's the shit that needs to be done. So I'm looking to kind of marry the best of both worlds. I'm
Got it.
saying
Okay.
like, okay, what is true? What is important? Like what's on the calendar today? What have I already pre-scheduled for myself? Does that align with what's going on in here? So I kind of need to mix and match and figure out what the best combination is going to be, but always kind of leaning more towards the subconscious processing, because I know that that is going to be what truly is the best thing for me, not what I told myself or not what I booked myself in advance that
Got
I'm
it.
no longer like as connected to emotionally and physically.
This is interesting. It makes me think of this like this might be the corporate version of what we're talking about, but my boss once said something like, "You own your career, but you just lease your job from wherever company you're looking for." So it's like defining what you want, like where do you want your career to go? Yours is obviously a very different track, which is what do I want my life to be? Not my career. This is like my life, right? Your family, your legacy, the impressions that you leave on the people that you were lucky enough to share time with. What does that all look like? We don't have to talk about this, and I can cut it out if you want to. I'm curious, just as like a partner, as a husband, as a father, like, is this something that permeates through your whole life? Is your wife thinking this way? Does she do stuff like this? Is it? I
Not
know
at all.
you said before we talked like very opposite, right? So like,
Very
she's not future setting like this.
No, definitely not at all. She thinks a lot of it's silly. She'll make fun of me for it, but it's interesting, right? Because like that serves as fuel, like where it's like, okay,
Yeah,
yeah, like I
yeah,
don't. Part of this whole journey is to disconnect and not to. One of the best ways to put it is living inside out as opposed to outside in. So allowing, right? You go get in a fight with your kids or your wife or a coworker or something like that, and they're yelling at you and they're telling you that you're a POS and like all these things, and you let that impact you, and you make that you start to think that you're a piece of crap, or that you're kind of taking the outside world and letting it impact you internally, emotionally. The opposite is, well, I don't really care about, and this is obviously easier said than done, but I don't care about what people think or say about me. And again, sometimes it's really easy and sometimes it's really difficult, but being able to withdraw yourself from those mean things that are said to you or those feelings that are projected onto you and say, okay, I understand and I appreciate that, but I'm not going to let that change me. I'm not going to take your anger and become angry myself. I'm not going to let your vibes control me and change me. As much as I want them to, as much as I can feel that anger or that frustration boiling up
Yeah.
inside of me, I'm not going to let that impact me whatsoever. I'm cool, I'm calm, and I know that when I am happy and that when I am joyful and I am excited, that better things happen to me in general. When I
Yeah.
walk about my day with a positive mindset, better things just happen to me. When I walk
Yeah.
around and I'm just pissed and I'm angry, that's when people cut me off in traffic. That's when people like flip me off, right? Like you ever drive down the highway and you're like, everyone's a terrible driver today. It's not them, it's you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I always say, like, if you're looking for a fight, you'll find one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
So, all right. So I wrote this down. This is outside in versus inside out. I want to see if I'm gathering this correctly. Outside in would mean like there are things happening outside of me that I like let in and infiltrate me. And I'm like, that's not good. Instead, you live inside out. You keep the inside, your head, your heart, your body. You keep that as pure as can be, as harmonious as can be, and then that goes out. So
Exactly.
did I get that right? Outside in is
100%.
like, no, no, no.
Yep.
Don't let people's thoughts infiltrate your sanctuary. Inside out is create this great place and let that kind of breathe out into the world.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. How'd you and your wife meet? It sounds like this has to be like a story because this is like very unique that like you are doing these very, you know, you've said a few times, and I don't know if folks have picked up like coach, you've talked about coaches. Like there's
Yes.
multiple coaches in your life that you are assumingly, you know, paying money to and giving time to help make you the best version of yourself. So how do you two meet? You seem very, like you said, opposites attract. How do you two meet?
Yeah, we met freshman year of college. So I grew up in New York. I moved to New Jersey to go to school. We met our first semester and fell in love, and we have been together ever since. So
Oh my God. So
yeah,
dude, my
I
oldest is leaving for college next week.
nice.
Yeah, dude. Wow.
It happens so fast, man. Like even with just a 1 and a 3 year old, I was looking at pictures from like a year and a half ago. I'm like, what the hell? Like you weren't even there, and you looked like her. Like,
Oh my gosh. Wait. Do look. Well, you gotta see this. Hold on. You gotta see this. This was yesterday. We went for a walk. We had like a little family day as we're getting ready to say goodbye. So these are 8 years apart. Oh, is it gonna focus?
that's awesome. I
And
love
on
that.
the one when he's little, he was having a rough day. He's an emotional kid. He was having a rough day. And I was like, come on, we're going walking. We'll walk ahead of everybody. I remember holding his hand,
Yeah.
just like, like that present moment of like, this is where I need to be right now, is be here to listen to him and let him talk. And then like yesterday, we're like, yeah, it was just a beautiful moment. So yeah,
That's where outside in is good, right? Because he's the one feeling the frustration. He is the one who is not happy. And you, by being like, let's walk ahead, like, right, I'm going to make some space for just you.
mm,
And you are in the positive place and you are spilling like the positive, like happy emotions out of you. You 100% are transferring that to him and making him be in a better mood. So like there is
yeah,
like the positive aspect of that. And I'm not a scientist, so I cannot speak to this, but the heart actually does they've studied it and they've seen it like the heart, especially at certain like emotional frequencies, will spill out. I think it's like 8 meters or something like that. So like you physically like emit vibrations that can impact people. So like when you are
man.
feeling really pissed off or you are feeling really happy and joyous and grateful, that actually impacts people. And you can see it when you walk into like hop on your next Zoom call, start the call like distracted, not really looking, paying attention, being kind of like unfocused out of it, versus the way that you started off our call today. Like you hop on and immediately are just like happy, excited, like, oh, Dan, what's going on? Right. It completely changes the conversation. So we very much impact each other, and most of us don't even realize it's happening.
Yeah, there is this. I mean, there's like a million quotes that are coming to mind now, and I won't try to butcher any of them, but like there's this, if people aren't aware of it, I hope if anything they take away, like most of the problems that we think we have, they really just exist in our head,
They're
right?
nothing. Yeah,
They're nothing. They're just like
it is our
thoughts.
perspective. Yeah.
Right.
Our perspective makes our perception of the world, and that creates our own reality. So
Yeah,
to your
yeah,
point of like,
and
you go look for a fight, you will find a fight. That is true with everything. It's
totally.
100%. Like if you go looking for something, if you have that expectation in your mind, it will happen because there is unlimited scenarios that could happen at any point in time just by you walking left versus right. And you don't even realize what's happening, but it happens. It's crazy.
So let me ask you. So we've talked about how like you worked at a marketing agency, then you went out on your own. You founded this company. You founded another company with Mike. Like there's all this kind of like work that's happening, right? So there is an X's and O's objective value proposition you're giving. There's work that's occurring, but what I kind of like here, and I'll be honest, like this is just like as if we're getting to even know each other more now. Is like there's such a bigger wrapping of all of this, right? And I guess like as I'm starting to think about it is, life can get complicated, man, right? Like bills got to get paid, kids got to get to where they go. Kids, they take time away, and we only have so much time and attention and love each day or what have you. So like, what is it like as you're going through your day? I know we talked about like your morning meditation, your evening meditation. We talked about how there's lots of journaling happening through the day, but like as you kind of navigate your days and your nights, like what are some guiding, are there principles? Are there guiding thoughts? We talked about outside in. Like, what are other things that help you like navigate? The reason I ask is I probably know maybe 8 people I can think of off the top of my head that I would say, oh yeah. You and Dan, you guys got this thing going on. You've got this, this very driven, very articulated, very organized and orchestrated mindset and practice and process. So what's it like navigating your days? What are other principles that you kind of have guide?
Well, that's the trickiest part, right? Despite the fact that like human beings do not like change, change is constantly happening in our lives. It just happens on a much smaller scale than we realize. So a lot of those things will actually change, right? Like the things that are keeping me excited and aligned and focused today will not be the same tomorrow or next week or next year, right? Like you experience like a new job, a new house, you have kids, your family grows, right? These are big experiences that make significant impacts in your life, but there are little decisions that are constantly happening that are shifting us, shaping us, and changing us. So there's definitely a lot to it, and I'd say like you have to follow your intuition, you have to follow your heart. Always try. But people say trust your gut, trust your heart. It will definitely show you the way, and that's something that I don't always see, but when I remember it, it helps me. I've been journaling. I've had this morning routine for longer than I can remember. It's always been, I've added to it over the years. It's been like work out, read, run, a little bit of this, and I've experimented with it and I've changed it and it's evolved over time. But for years, and really without thinking about it, I've always told people or I've posted on social media, like it's the number one thing that has gotten me to where I was today. And then until like I actually got to this point and I could see in hindsight, like just how much, and really it is the main primary driver of basically any success I've had in my life, both personally and professionally. It's spending time with yourself. It's getting to know you. And that's really what journaling and meditation is like
Yes.
it's sitting down and just being with yourself and just enjoying being with yourself. Here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I'm feeling. I'm meditating. I'm being quiet. I'm doing breath work. I'm doing all these things. That is you working on you. Like that is relationship building with yourself. And that's where you figure out, like in the chaos of everything that's happening, all the thoughts and feelings and emotions that are being thrown at you and you're spitting back into the world throughout the day, it's very hard to not get swept up by even just a single one of those can be pretty life altering. Taking the time to constantly sit down and touch base with yourself and be like, dude, you okay? Like, I know you're feeling this way. Like, like what's going on? Let's talk it out. Or to kind of like, hey, that was freaking awesome. I'm really excited right now. Like, let's process that a little bit. Let's try and unpack why I'm so excited, or how we can do more things that are going to replicate that again in the future, right? Like, why am I feeling so happy? Why am I so successful? Why did that event happen the way that it happened? How do I get more of that in my life? So it's really like for years I've been doing it and never truly realized until now. And now I can look in hindsight and I can say, like journaling, meditation, spending time to be with yourself, working on yourself, self-improvement, right? In any capacity, all those things are the best things for you because they make you the better version of yourself, undoubtedly.
And then this makes you better as a husband, as a father, as a co-founder. I'm
The
hearing
way you
something
do
that,
anything is the way you do everything. So it's
oh
not the
yes.
things you do, it's the person you are. So through all of this like manifestation and stuff I've been working on, it's really it's not about achieving goals. It's about becoming the person that will achieve that goal. So like my goal isn't to go make $1 million. My goal is to be the person who makes $1 million.
I'm hearing like two big things here, and I've never maybe thought about it the way that maybe it's coming at me now. And I'm hearing like I just wrote it down, so I'm looking at it. It's like working on yourself is so important. It pays dividends beyond anything, right? It is the most important relationship we have is the one with yourself. And
Best
we live in
investment
an
you can ever make in your life.
right. And we live in an era where it's never been easier to have negative self-talk. It's never been easier to compare yourself to other people and think that you are less than. It's never been easier to sit and just live vicariously through other people's social media feeds or, what do they call it? Reality TV or whatever like crap is out there, right? So the other side of doing all that bad stuff is working on yourself. And there's two things that I'm hearing. One is being proactive with yourself, setting up a way to make yourself better. And that could be as simple as a journaling, a meditation, a walk. It could be anything. Anything you do to make yourself better, the way you eat, the way you sleep, drink more water, pick your these are the opposite of poison. It's not poison. But pick the thing, kind of pick the vitamin. Yeah, pick the vitamin and take it. So one of them is like being proactive. But then there's a second part that I wrote down, which I don't know if many people really think about, which is reflection. So if you're doing something that is good for you and you're consciously doing it, you should then take moments to think about like, ooh, I am feeling better. Why am I feeling better? Is it and to be reflective? So it's like proactivity with a set of actions or processes or things that are better for yourself, and then taking time to review and be reflective to those things. That's kind of like the cycle that keeps it going. It sounds like for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, right, we both come from technology, and many of your listeners will kind of resonate with this. It's the same reason if we run marketing campaigns, we want to see the data behind it to know it's actually working, right? Like, how do we know if anything's working if we can't measure it? So when you sit down and you say like, right, why did I feel that way? Why am I thinking this way? And you start to unpack it, and it's a difficult conversation to have at times, right? Like when things are going great, it's easy. When things are going bad, it's not so easy. But when you sit down and you kind of put yourself through that process and you allow yourself to kind of marinate in those feelings and experience them and unpack them, that's when you learn, all right, I should stop doing this, or I should do more of this. And that's what starts the train, right? So like, same reason my morning routine started with, I don't even remember how it started, right? But I think I started working out, and then I started working out and reading. And then I started working out and reading and stretching, and that, right? So like, the more you do, the more you start to build upon that, because you realize you get that positive feedback loop and you're like, I feel better. I feel physically better. I feel mentally more clear. I'm just more happy in general, or I'm more successful. I'm seeing these things change in a positive way in my life. There's no way you don't want more of that, especially once you realize what's making that change.
This is interesting because I feel that like it's easy to dig yourself in a hole and talk yourself to a bad place. Yeah. But I feel like it's somewhat easier. The snowball gets bigger almost like uphill, right? Like it's like good things cycle good things, bad things will cycle bad things. So it's like I think the other thing for a lot of folks, like at a very high level, it just sounds like you're in the driver's seat of your life, right? Yeah. You are consciously making decisions, consciously doing things, consciously manifesting. You're consciously in the driver's seat about what you do, how you do it, and where it's going to get you. And you have clarity about like where you want to be. I think a lot of people, especially nowadays, we spend a lot of time on computers, sitting in front of screens, where our time gets eaten up by calendar invites that come through. It's easier. It's never been easier to be passive in your life, and people are being robbed of their legitimate lives. Right. Yeah. And so, as you think about like this proactive approach you take to your life, again, the stuff that you do, I think everybody would benefit from it, but not everybody does it. And I'm really curious, like, where's this come from, bro? Like, were you like this as a kid? Like, did you grow up in a house like this? Like, what's the history that gets you to become this man that thinks this way? Like, where's this all coming from?
Really good question. I don't have an answer for it. I definitely wasn't right. Like, my dad was a blue collar worker. My mom was a nurse. So we grew up in an affluent area, but we were not wealthy by any means. Don't get me wrong. I was well off as a child. I had a great family, great kind of values, and a lot of great opportunities that came my way. But to your point, like I felt like I was constantly just bouncing around life. I've always kind of identified as a very I've always called it indecisive, but like I've always been what's the word I'm looking for? But I'm a very go with the flow kind of guy, right? Like I'm down for whatever. My bachelor party, I just kind of let my friends plan whatever, and didn't even. I was like, dude, I don't really care. Just plan it. And let's do something fun and let's make it happen. And that's why I ended up naked riding a bike around Philadelphia for my bachelor party. So, I mean, there is positives that come with that, and I don't want to fully detach from that because I think there's a lot of cool things that come out of the serendipity of just going with the flow and not caring and letting go of especially things that are holding us back is extremely important on our journey to self improvement. But it was really kind of like, I guess these cycles or the pendulum going back and forth of just feeling lost and confused. And right, it was truthfully, and I didn't even realize what it was until after the fact. Right, I just kept for 2+ years. I kept calling it my personal brand identity crisis. Like I just felt the weird. I had this misalignment in myself. I felt like I didn't know who I was or how to present myself. Right, on one level, I still very much knew who I was. I knew how to present myself, but like there was just like this confusion, this battle within me. And it was that journey of trying to search for that, like to search that out and try and like climb that mountain and figure out like, who the hell am I really? Like, what am I doing? How am I presenting myself online? And like I said, right, like that was what I was looking for. And what I found was so much bigger than that. And it just opened me up to like, the world is endless. There's so much opportunity. And the best way that I can describe it is the world is a game and I just want to keep playing it. So like, that was kind of my awakening. I was like, life is this beautiful thing, right? Like you ask yourself, like, what is the meaning of life? Well, the meaning of life is to find meaning in life. So like I started to realize anything is possible. I can do whatever I want. I can do whatever I put my mind to. So then I was like, I want to go test that. I want to go, I can see it. I've watched enough videos. I've read enough books. I've, like listened to enough influencers and actually like, right, like scientifically proven people. Like I know this shit works, but I need to prove it to myself. I need to do it for myself. And that's why on November 30th, I found literally was scrolling YouTube, thing came up out of nowhere. I actually laughed at it. It said how to manifest $1 million in 2024. I didn't even watch the video. I laughed at it. And then it slowly trickled into my mind. And I was like, oh, I see what's happening now. It was a test. It was like, here is this thing. You now realize what the world is and how you can go play this game. Here is this test for you to go play this game. Here's level 1 of this new game called life. Go play it, go beat it, and then figure out, like, then the world opens up and then you can truly see what is capable, like what is possible and what you're capable of. So it's this journey of finding yourself and self-improvement and just wanting to be better and wanting to be in control of your life. And a lot of like, right, it's awareness is the first thing. It's understanding and becoming aware of the fact that I'm not in control, that I do let these fights with my spouse, my kids, my boss, my friends, my family, whoever, take control of my life, and they take that control away from me. Like I wanted to take back control. I wanted to say, I don't really care. Like I'm just going to go do my thing. I'm going to go live the happiest life I can live. And I can hands down say right now, especially within the past couple months, this is the happiest I've ever been in my entire life. And I keep saying, like, it hasn't even been a full year yet. I feel like I'm an infant, like I'm a toddler now. Like I'm like stumbling around, stomping around, like trying to figure out how this whole thing works. And I've seen so much improvement in such a short amount of time, more than any other period in my entire life. And I keep saying to myself, how can it get any better than this? How can it get any better than this? But it just keeps, it does. It keeps getting better. So
the kids make it better too, man.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, this is like, there's a really, because we've talked about like self and interaction of self with others and how if we work on ourselves in different ways, that this really is the key. By the way, you said, I mean, come on, dude, the meaning of life is that, shoot, what'd you say? The meaning of life is to find meaning in life?
Meaning in life, yeah.
To find meaning in life, right? And you said, I mean, you kind of started this whole thing up by saying like, you didn't want to wait anymore. You didn't want to wait to be like, what am I going to be when I grow up? I don't want to grow up, and I don't want to wait to find out that, the gaming company, like, I don't want to wait. That's my retirement. Why would I wait? Why would I wait? My grandma used to say, she'd say in Yiddish, but in English, it's, we make plans and God just laughs. Right. So, I mean,
Mike Tyson says everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face.
That's exactly what it is. Actually, you see this picture behind me here, this Grateful Dead poster there. Can you see that like one? So that poster was there's a cool company in Chicago. It's called Right Way Signs. They make like hand painted signs. They make all sorts of signs, but they started making like cool posters, hand painted posters for like cool events in Chicago. So that was like the last Grateful Dead concert ever that I was at. I actually went with my mom and my brother to that show. But they started doing those cool quotes in that style, like that grocery store style. And they've got one that says, everybody's got a plan to get punched in the face. Yes, it's really true. And, here's the other thing too, man. I mean, I think I'm just kind of curious, but like, we talk about this. This is a very positive conversation, but we also know that the thing that got you to this positive place was this kind of lost at sea thing, right? So it's not all perfect and beautiful. And I'm sure even nowadays, like there's probably things that happen that do infiltrate, that do come outside in and can cause some stress and can cause, some negativity, if you will. But I think that like this big thing I'm taking away, this is such a perfect time. I don't know why. I know how we started talking. I signed up for your Manifest a Million updates, right? The newsletter. Yeah. And I told you, and I feel like it, and Schmuck saying this, like, I kept getting these alerts every night. I'm like, what? And I never read them for like months. I literally get them. I never read them. I'm like, what? And then finally one day I'm like, God, I should read. I was like, I know Danny's a good guy. Let me read his stuff. And I read, I was like, wait, what are you doing? And then I literally just reached out. I was like, hey, I'm sorry. I've been getting your things. I haven't opened it until today. I just read it. We need to talk, dude. And that's how we ended up here today. But yeah, I was just saying, like, we go through life. Some people are lost in life. And the reason, maybe there is a reason we're talking now. I used to be, militant about my morning routine. And when I was, it was the best version of me I ever was. And as that fell off, like you said, those things go down. So this is very timely that we are talking right now.
Yeah. But there's two sides to every coin, right? Like you said, there's the yin and the yang. There's all good has bad. Because without, you can't have one without the other, because you can't appreciate one without the other, right? If everything is always good, then what is good? Because if it's all just good, then right, everything is perspective. So you need the bad experiences in order to, you need the bad feelings to feel good. So I will say that, right, like there's always flexibility in life, right? Like life happens and there's only so much you can do about it. And I was like, I actually took that to an extreme the wrong way, where like I'm very OCD and I'm a perfectionist, and I let that guide me and control me into the bad, right? Where I'm like, oh, I need to do my morning routine. And then I start getting pissed off because I didn't find time, or the kids woke up early, and like, right. And it's like, oh, you just need to be flexible, and you need to go with the flow, right? Like, that's okay. That's good. And I got this from my coach too. Like, just no matter what happens, like, that's good. It doesn't matter whether it's good or bad. That's good, because there is so much positive that can come out of the negative. I've been doing like a lot of work around, right? We have limiting beliefs. We have things that hold us back. We have a primary driver of that is fear. We are afraid of the unknown. We are afraid of the fear, like of change. We are afraid of all these things that hold us back. But it's when we face, so a lot of times we act because of the fear, right? Like fear controls us and makes us do things, whether or not we want to do them. But it's when we act in spite of the fear and we push our way through those thoughts and emotions and feelings, those things that we don't want to do, the things that we're scared of doing but we know are really good for us, all of our dreams are realized on the other side of that. So I have like now taken this thing where I'm like, dude, fear is actually the best thing in the world. I now get excited when bad things happen to me, because I'm like, this means that something good is coming. And it's
growth. It's growth, right? Like you don't grow in your comfort zone kind of thing, right? Like you need that challenge. Yeah.
You get stuck in your bubble. But what's really crazy is you're like, all right, well, I'm going to go pop this bubble. And that's scary because I don't know what's on the outside. What if I can't breathe? Like, what if I start choking and I die? Like, right, it's all these negative, those are just thoughts. Those are just things that exist in our head.
Thoughts, dude. They're the worst. They're the best. They're the worst.
We pop that bubble and then we realize it's all like bubblegum and candies, like on the outside. We're like, awesome. Like, right?
Dude, my best friend Colin, we were talking. I like really had fallen off like on my exercise, right? And I've been playing a lot of lacrosse, and I'm like hurting and I'm aching. And he was like, dude, he's like, just get back. Like, you have this beautiful home gym. Just go. Like, he goes, here's the deal. If you do 5 minutes, Have you ever gone into your gym for 5 minutes? Like, oh, I'm done. Like, no,
Yeah.
because it starts feeling good right away. It's like, you never be like, oh, that was the worst. You're like, no, it's the best. So it is
Yeah.
this like, just, kind of like breaking through, cracking the shell, whatever the metaphor is, like, do the thing that you're most scared of, most worried about, because on the other side of it, 9 times out of 10 is good stuff. It's the things that are make you going to feel good. You said this thing about like, if everything's good, if everything's perfect and nothing's bad, we kind of need the yin and the yang to appreciate each other. And so I think like maybe a good takeaway for folks that are listening, and these fears that we have, and these kind of like these fears and these ruts that we can get into, they fall into like major buckets, right? They could be relationships, it could be health and wellness, it could be spirituality, it could be career, it could be friendships and social, whatever that bucket is. The big message here is like, if you focus on yourself, improving yourself, these are the things that start to kind of make those other things better. But I feel like what I'm hearing from you, what I've also witnessed in my personal life, is once I start tackling one of those buckets by working on that thing, it always spills over in a positive way into the others, right? So like, if you're stuck financially, if money's tight, you start putting together a budget, guess what? You're also going to start scheduling your workouts back in, right? Because you're in this objective scheduling thing. And when you start exercising, your relationships get better because you're happier. Like, all these things have compounding positive benefits. I have a question for you. And you talked about this personal identity crisis. And there's a lot of people online. There's a million places you could look. But like, I know like when we first met, we never talked about any of this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And like,
it wasn't even a thing for me back then.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
So like, this now is the driver of everything that you do. Like, how do you best find, I know you have the Manifest $1 Million, challenge, and you send out these daily updates. Yeah. Is this being shared? Like, I don't want to say like influencer, but like, this is the type of influence people need. They don't need influence to buy cosmetics. They don't need influence to get butt implants. They need influence to work on themselves. Where is this? How is this showing up? Is you helping others with this?
Yeah. So that was actually one of the primary drivers for me to publicly journal about this journey, is because, like I said from the beginning, right, I fully believed this. Right. Like I had seen too much proof in other people's experiences documented, as well as just scientifically, like some of the stuff that just aligns, that again is just, I'm not even going to bother trying to butcher it. Like I needed to share my journey with the world, to show other people that like, it's not all like rainbows and butterflies. It's not right. Like you're going to see the bad days along with the good days. You're going to watch me fall on my face, but you're going to watch me get back up, pick myself back up, right, brush my shoulders off and get right back to it. So it was very much like, I want to do this for myself, but I also want to literally document this journey as a blueprint for others to either follow in my footsteps, or just at the very least give them a moment of inspiration to feel the feeling that I felt when I was like, I'm going to go do this thing, or the feeling that I now have because I've conditioned it into my mind every day, every hour, every minute, of like, I can go be better. I can do whatever I want. I can just be happy. And I think you see like all these stories of rich, famous people who are just unhappy, or who unfortunately still like commit suicide. Like, right. Like Robin Williams is like one of my favorite actors, like growing up. And when he like committed suicide, like I cried. Like I didn't know the guy. I cried. I bawled for hours when he died. Yeah. Right. And it's just like, we attach ourselves to these things that we're constantly looking for the next thing to make us happy. And in the pursuit of happiness, we forget happiness. And like, I can now sit here and I told you before, like, I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life because I choose to be happy. And it doesn't matter if I hit my goal. It doesn't matter if I become homeless. It doesn't matter if I do these things. And yes, of course, I will be sad. Like, right? Like there are definitely things in my life that could freaking break me. But I'm at a point in my life now where I'm never going back. And I know that I can heal from those things. And I know that they will make me stronger. And I'm in control. And like, if I can share that with the world, if I can paint that picture, if someone else, if I just change one person's life, or I help them along their journey, like that to me is a win. So that was like very much an impetus for like, I am going to share this. I know, yes, it's going to hold me accountable, but I know that's going to help some other people along the way.
Masterclass, bro. That is, I didn't know what to expect. Like I told you, I'm like, we'll just hit record. I don't know what to expect. I didn't know what's going on. And I'm so glad that we made this time. I think there's definitely a reason that we have this conversation. I know, I know that when I see you in Boston, is it next month already?
Yeah,
Dude,
we're
it's like
coming
a
up quick.
month. Dude, it's literally like a month from like
Yeah,
yesterday or something.
yeah.
Uh, it'll be a very different conversation than the first time we met. And so I want to thank you for taking time. I know you just got back today. I met one of your kids. I know there's a family in the other side of that door waiting for you. Thank you for making the
Literally not even
time.
screaming.
um, is there anything that, again, like lots of different folks listen to this podcast, anything you need help with, anything that folks can do, any call to action, anything you want people to do after listening to this?
I think, just if you're interested in hearing more of my journey, if you want to kind of see some of the thoughts that are going through my head on a daily basis, as opposed to like a distillation of, like this entire journey through this particular conversation, if you want to experience the highs and the lows of a journey like this, if you want to take those steps on your own, best place to find me is on LinkedIn. I actually post the newsletter directly to LinkedIn, so you can find the Manifest a Million Challenge. I think it's 155, 56 editions already that I've published by doing this, Monday, Sunday through Thursday, every night. Or just DM me, come say what's up, come talk to me, share where, like, if you're doing something similar, or if you are into this whole like spirituality mindset, subconscious work, talk to me about it. I always love nerding out on this stuff. Or if you just have something to share about your experience, if I can help in any way, I'm more than happy to.
This was amazing. You're really amazing. I'm sure, I hope that your family, your friends all realize how remarkable you are, the positive impact you have on those around you. And thank you for being a part of my day. And now, just so you know, as I leave this conversation, there's like a different Mark coming out of this conversation than there was coming in. So I really, really appreciate you taking time, man. This was beautiful.
You and me, and I hope everyone listening as well. Mark, I really appreciate you, man. Just from the bottom of my heart. There's one of the things I've struggled with is to accept and appreciate things, and I've pushed compliments and things away. So I just want to say, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. That really means a lot. And much love, man.
Much love, brother. Thank you so much. Have a great one, buddy.